Grab a seat. We'll get started. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's important to us, it's important to the state, and I know it's important to you. So thank you for coming out. And what we'll do is we're going to have a presentation, a short presentation. As soon as the presentation is over, we'll take questions. And just like last time, we'll stay here till we've hopefully answered everybody's concerns. And with me today, I have County Commissioner Chris Corcorino and County Commissioner Patrick McLaughlin. Myself, I'm Jim Moran, the at-large, and County Administrator Todd Bond is here. And I want to thank the young lady all the way over that you signed in with, Beth Mulaski. She keeps us all straight, so thank you, Beth. Appreciate it. She sets this up. And we also have, in the back, we've got some of the state agencies here, but they're engaged right now, but hopefully we'll be able to introduce them later. But as I said, my name is Jim Moran, and this is the 5301 Ramp Management Program. In 2023, Queen Anne's County and the Maryland State Highway Administration conducted a pilot ramp management project along westbound 5301 from Castle Marina Road to Maryland 8, which is the Business Parkway, Romancoke Road. State Highway Administration collected traffic data to determine if managing the flow of entering traffic would ease local congestion on Maryland 18 and improve traffic flow on westbound 5301 during peak weekend travel hours. And we all know what that's about. So the history, to give you a little history about this, I'm going to take credit for this, if it's credit can be had. In 2018, we came up with a plan, the Beach to Bridge plan, and naturally that didn't work. It violated too many federal statutes and statewide issues with it. Then we went on for letters of support, partnership with State Highway, the 2023 pilot program, last year's pilot program, and here we are today. So some of the highlights, the ramp program will run on weekends from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday and Sundays, and holidays Mondays, which is right now just Memorial Day and Labor Day, because July 4th falls on a Friday, so we don't think we're going to have any issues with that. The program is proposed to run from Sunday, May 18th through Monday, September 8th. The holiday weekends, as I said, they will be manned. Feedback, just continue to submit constructive feedback to public comments at QAC.org. And we do see every one of those. So as you can see, what we're talking about right now, following the green, the yellow, it shows you where we are closing down those ramps. If you can imagine an hourglass, and all the sand has to go through the narrow point of the hourglass, the more that you can cut off from feeding in at the same location, the faster the traffic will move. So this shows the access to westbound 5301 will be restricted at these locations, which is the Route 8 ramp westbound, and Duke Street during the management pilot weekends. So it shows you the road closure, and then it shows you the detour. Takes you back to Castle Marina and puts you out at Castle Marina. So the first one again is the Route 8 ramp, the Route 50 ramp at Route 8 westbound. No access to the westbound US 5301 from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. during ramp management weekends. Duke Street, exit 38A, no access to westbound US 5301 from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. during ramp management weekends with their detours. And some of this, just some of the impacts you'll notice here, medical calls in Queen Anne's County, the medical calls for Kent Island was 38% over those weekends, and where we were transporting to, 32% were going across the Bay Bridge. And just keep in mind, when we transfer or transport patients over the bridge, that unit still has to come back to us, and that takes hours, depending on how the backups are. So, and that reduces our response, not our response time, but who we have out there to respond at this present time. So 18 westbound traffic comparison, Castle Marina Road to Maryland 8. And what we did here is, no traffic versus traffic. Travel on Maryland 18 from Castle Marina Road to Maryland 8 decreased by 55% on weekends in 2024. Again, Maryland 18 delay on summer weekends in 2024 from Piney Narrows Road to Castle Marina Road reduced by 20%. And anybody that's been stuck in that traffic from Chester, Graysonville, or any other part in the state knows what that's all about. The detour on Maryland 8 to get you back on westbound shows you the red dot all the way to the left. If that ramp is closed, you've got to go down to 18, turn right on 18, follow it up to Castle Marina, and then allows you to get onto 5301, where again, in extreme heavy traffic, that spot always seems to be running at about 35 miles an hour. Now, keep in mind, if there's an accident, it's all bets are off. I mean, that's one of the caveats to this, that the program works extremely well until there is an accident. Detour adds approximately 4 miles. This is the Route 8 ramp. Adds approximately 4 miles. When there are no congestion on the Bay Bridge, added travel time along the detour was 7 minutes in the summer of 2024. When there was congestion on the Bay Bridge, added travel time along the detour route ranged from 12 to 20 minutes in summer of 2024. And the average travel time along the detour route throughout the summer of 2024 was approximately 13 minutes. So 50 westbound from Queenstown outlets to the western end of the Bay Bridge. That's all the way over the Bay Bridge. Average daily volume on westbound Bay Bridge in 2023, 46,500 vehicles. In 24, 400 vehicles, 47,400 vehicles. Average observed maximum travel time on the westbound US 50 in 23 in that corridor we're talking about the Saturday, Sundays, is 52.4 minutes. In 2024, it was 43.9 minutes. So it is having an effect, and it is keeping traffic moving. And that's one of the things with the traffic moving, what we're also trying to do is condition your beach traffic which travels, and they see a backup and they say, well, let's jump on the side streets. And we want to show them that Route 50 is still the fastest way to get over the Bay Bridge. So the notes, the data reflects weekends and Monday holidays from May 19th through September 2nd, 2024, with ramp closures. And similar weekend and holiday dates in 2023, which was May 21st through September 4th, without ramp closures. Travel time is for the 15-mile stretch of westbound US 50 from Queenstown outlets to the end of the Bay Bridge in Anne Arundel County. So those higher numbers are with the ramps open. And that just goes to show you what that pinch point will do. So how to make a comment? In person, which is we're all here tonight for. Speak tonight following this presentation or during the public comment time of any county commissioner meeting. Those are held the second and fourth Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. at the Liberty Building in Centerville. You can also send your comments to publiccomment@QueenAnnesCountyQAC.org, and we will see all of those. And now, we're ready to take any questions you can possibly have. So, yes, sir. And if you don't mind, when you come up, just state your name and where you live, and for the record.
My name is Tom.
Oh.
I don't sing very well. One of the questions, which last year you did, but it didn't look like Shopping Center Road was being affected.
It was closed last year, and then we decided to open that.
Okay, so instead of someone going from Route 8 down to Castle Marina, we could cut in from Shopping
Well, let's
Center.
keep that as our secret.
Okay, that's
We don't want the beach traffic to get off and get out, so.
No, I understand, and I think last year also the time, whether it was 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever, it just seemed like the folks, the DOT folks, were closing a little early.
Yeah.
And we, like I said, trying to I know everybody's trying to find their groove and trying to
Yeah.
find the right time, the sweet spots to open and close these ramps, or mainly close the ramps.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you go there and the ramp's closed, they go, oh, dang, I got to go all the way down there.
Right.
But other than that, I think you did a talk with Chris, I think one time, you talked about the heart attack and talked
Yeah.
about the AEDs and
Right.
equipping the sheriff's office with AEDs. I'm a former fireman, retired, now a chicken necker over here, but I do understand, you know, the weekend traffic and having the volunteers going from their home to the fire station, of course, then the folks on the fire station.
That's right.
Trying to get to the emergency.
That's
And
right.
same thing with the EMS folks down on Route 8, trying to get back up to, you know, to the other backed up traffic. So, you know, thank you. But yeah, that was, my only question was about the shopping center road.
And that is a very good point. You know, a lot of people, you know, we're an all-volunteer system. And, you know, so when the siren goes off, the calls goes off, the pagers go off, they got to get to the house. They got to get to their firehouse. And they're in their vehicles. It's one thing when they're in the, you know, the engine and the ambulance and their sirens are blaring and people are getting out of their way. It's another thing when they're trying to get there. So, you know, it is a major concern. I do have a list here, so I'm going to go from the list to see if anybody here wants to speak. Larson Trigger, would you like to speak? No? Craig Holberger? All right. Jack Broderick. Jack, you want to speak? There you go.
Yeah, Jack Broderick from Chester, president of Kent Island Heritage Society, and involved in a couple other things. But I want to thank you guys for your decision last year and this year for delaying this till the day after our big event, Kent Island Day, Saturday, May 17th this year. You know, I think you listened last year, you made a couple of adjustments. Generally, the feedback that we have gotten is that this thing has worked. And there may be some folks who still have concerns, but if you look at what you all faced at this same town hall last year, and the number of objections of people who thought it would never work, look at who we have here this evening. It's a lot different. But generally, I want to say a great big thank you both to you all and to State Highway Administration for listening and for trying something that is trying to help make our situation here on the island better than it has been in the recent past. Again, thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Mary Helen Reisler? No? Okay. Ron McCready? Okay, thank you. Dora Passon? Okay. I think this says Ken Baxter? Okay. I can't read that one, sorry. Renee DuBois? No. Donna Harrington? Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Donna Harrington with Kent Island Beach Houses. So I'm down Route 8, and obviously the people down Route 8 are more affected by this.
Yeah.
The people
thank
are
you.
more affected by this than elsewhere. The one positive thing I thought about last year is when you delayed it until noon. Is there some reason that it went back to 11 o'clock?
It's our starting point. So we're going to monitor it, and if we see that that's not an issue, you know, because what comes into play there is contraflow, and I'm going to speak to Saturdays. So contraflow is open. There's 3 lanes going eastbound. The policy for MDTA right now is whoever has the higher volume gets the 3rd lane. So, you know, if we could message more towards people, and I hate to say this in front of the state people because they'll go, don't say that, but if we could message more of eastbound traffic, you're going to lose that lane at 1 p.m. or something in that neighborhood, then you would have a better knowledge of when's a good time to leave. So I understand what you're saying, but right now we're going to start at 11. If we see that there's no backups at 11, then maybe we move it back to 12. So.
Okay, because most of the, you know, the Airbnbs and such down
Yeah.
Route 8 or the hotels, checkout time is 11, and the majority of them are going to be crossing the bridge.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn Rowe. Liam Shanky. Good to go. Thank you. Mike Detmer. You're good to go. Adrian Oneto?
Yeah, I want to thank you for doing this. You did it about a year ago. I thought it was a very good program. My name is Adrian Oneto. I live all the way at the end of Route 8 in the Cove Creek community. And what has happened during this period is it adds 20 minutes to the time it takes me to get onto the bridge because you have closed the Route 8 access. One thing I want to say is I'm like a lot of people who moved here from Montgomery County, DC, Fairfax County, that kind of thing. We refused to look on the other side of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge for a house, and then we came on the Kent Island for various number of reasons, and it's indescribably beautiful, yes. But it was the first exit off of the bridge, and it was the first exit back onto the bridge, and this was a big deciding factor. And I think that when you came up with mitigation plans, and I think nobody here is going to dispute that we needed some mitigation, that something needed to be done about the problem. What I dispute is that from the very beginning, the refusing to let the Route 8 people turn directly onto the bridge was part of the solution. So I'm going to begin with the very last question that I asked at last year's meeting, which is, why don't you try closing 39A and 38A and leave the Route 8 access alone? And I think that is my objection to what's happened. You came up with a solution. Yes, there has been mitigation, but there have been a lot of people who live on either side of Route 8, the north or south side, who have been really, really affected by this. And what I object to is that you came up with a solution before you tested multiple scenarios. So my question is, could you, at the beginning of the 2025 season, try this? Close 39A, 38A. I think that will be mitigating, and leave the Route 8 alone. So I'd like a response, because last year you nodded. I think you nodded because I was the last person talking, and you were just relieved that I was the last person talking. But I would like a reaction to
So
this.
just to clarify, you're talking about leaving the Route 8 ramp open to everybody?
Yes.
To everybody? Don't close
Yes.
it at all?
Don't close it at all,
Okay.
because you won't have to. If you stop the Route 50 bridge, the Route 50 westbound traffic, if they can't get on at 38A or 39A.
And those exits are, you know the names of
The
those?
Casa Marina Road and Duke Street.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if you stop that, that will be the mitigation that you need. I don't think I would twice go into such a public meeting and suggest something that I don't believe has a glimmer of a chance of working.
Okay. Well, let me state this first. What we found in the past, when the backups start, we're always going to get a backup. It's always going to get
Yeah,
a slowdown,
I
but
get it.
it doesn't get serious till it passes Castle Marina.
Right.
So you got a good
Well-
point there. But what happens at the Kent Narrows, when it gets to the Kent Narrows, traffic comes up over, sees it, and people get off. And that's what happens. The traffic doesn't get off so much at Castle Marina because they're that close to the bridge, or 2 miles from the bridge. The traffic comes from the Kent Narrows, comes from Nesbitt Road. When they hear there's more than a 5-mile backup, they're getting on Route 18. And that's what the problem we're having, is the congestion on Route 18 with our ambulances, fire trucks, and
Right.
general services, and the public can't get around. Because as you've seen, when we had no ramp closures, it's 54 minutes to go from Queenstown to the Bay Bridge. And, so even with the ramp closures, you're telling me that it's 20 minutes, which is a lot better than ours, with the new totals, 43 minutes to go from Queenstown.
This is me coming up Route 8 and getting used to the fact that I could make a direct left turn.
Understood.
And I was on the bridge.
Correct.
It's adding 20 minutes for me to circle around. This is not trivial. It's not trivial for me. It's not trivial. You know, I have a son and daughter-in-law who live here.
Mm-hmm.
Their children have to be hoisted over to sports activities. It is not trivial.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's necessary. I can't believe you cannot try other scenarios that don't affect the Route 8 left-hand turn or right-hand turn if you're coming from North Route 8.
Right. Well, again, you know, the data is showing that the ramp closure is working. It is causing you more time of travel, and we understand that.
How do you know that it's the Route 8 ramp closure?
May I?
How do you know that you couldn't achieve the same thing by closing more exits?
So if I could
Coming
take
up, yeah.
a little gander at this, I lived in Mattapique Estates, just south of Bay City, and I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
The issue is that Route 8, the entrance is the choke point. The problem is, as Commissioner was saying, is that it gets backed up all the way back to Big Bats with people getting on at the Route 8. You have all of the semi-trucks, all of the 18-wheelers are in the right lane, and with cars coming in, including me, I did it all the time. You cut off the truck stops, and all of a sudden you have a domino effect, backing up trucks, and before you know it, it's backing up, you know, 3, 4, 5 exits. That's the problem of that entrance at Route 8. It's too close to the bridge. People cut in. You have dozens and dozens of cars. It's shutting down, moving the traffic. What the Commissioner is saying is by taking that choke point out and going on, getting on a McDonald's, by the time, and I've done this, I've done it 12 times, I've done the loop that you have done, that the Commissioner showed on the picture. By the time I got on at McDonald's, by the time I hit Colt Classic, I was doing 40 miles an hour. And that is because, for one reason, that the Route 8 is shut down. Right. And that's the choke point, and that's why this is a successful pilot program that's cutting off 10 minutes from Queenstown to the bridge.
All right. Is it because of the Route 8 or is it because of Route 18?
No,
I guess what I'm contending.
It's the choke point at
Right,
Route 8,
which
getting
is driven.
onto where you're making that left turn. That traffic is what's backing up the domino effects of all the trucks and all of the other cars, which stops and slows down
You're
traffic.
saying the traffic coming 50 West.
Yes.
Yes, so stop them. You don't have to stop me for making my left turn.
You want us to stop?
Okay, I'm
Route
not sure
50
where
and
you're
let
saying.
you on?
Okay, yeah, I'm not,
Hey, Jim, can you put this one up on the screen? Maybe I can try to help this out a little bit. Keep going. Keep going. We have one that's like an overview of an aerial. Yeah.
yeah, show me
Okay,
that.
so you're
Okay.
talking about here, 37, right? That's the exit that you take to get onto the bridge, right here where the blow up is. So this actually is closing this exit. That is the most important part of the entire traffic plan. And there's a couple of reasons for that. So people who are using Waze, Google Maps, or anything else, there's a backup on 50 all the way here, and Waze
Right.
says, I got an exit here that'll get you to 50. Get off somewhere, get off at the Narrows, and take these side roads the whole way. And that's what caused the gridlock for the locals, because they're all trying to get to that exit. When the state allows us to have this exit closed, and remember the law says closed for one, closed for all.
Right.
When that's closed, the state tells the map software companies ahead of time, this exit is going to be closed from 11 o'clock until 8 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. So now, when there's a backup, the electronic software for the navigation systems does not tell people to get off and take the side roads because they know that exit is closed and they're not going to be able to get there. So that is the linchpin of the entire thing. The added benefit that this has is, now that people aren't on the side roads trying to take this exit, as Patrick pointed out, when they take this exit and then they're trying to get on 50, they're actually causing a ripple effect on 50 and slowing down, because everybody who's now with ramp management, by the time they hit the bridge, they're cruising, right? When the ramp is open and people are merging in, it causes everybody to brake and it starts slowing down all of 50, and then the ripple effect is the traffic gets longer. So that exit is the most important exit in the entire plan.
You can't entertain, I guess I still don't understand. It seems to me, the real traffic that's coming up Route 18, because Google Maps is telling them to
Right.
get off onto Duke Street or Casa Marina Road, going
Or
up,
at the
they'll get to
Narrows.
Route, right.
Right.
And if you close those two exits, then you're stopping that kind of Route 18 traffic.
No, I
So-
think she has
I
a,
think I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
A couple things, right? So
You're much earlier.
you're saying not even let them get off to the gas stations or the McDonald's. and stuff like
Exactly.
that. You're still going to have people who are getting off earlier on. They're going to get off over here.
Which
right?
is what? Which is what?
So right around Gibson's Grant, they'll get over there, or they'll get off back here at the Narrows, and then they're going to come around these side roads. Right. So right now, with grant management, from Castle Marina, if you want to get from Castle Marina to the food line, it's clear sailing now. Folks like Jim who live up in Queenstown, if they're trying to get out there, they still hit the bottleneck because we still currently have a bottleneck that occurs like around Safeway because people are getting off. But those people who get off at Safeway have to get back on at Castle Marina. That's freeing up this.
Right.
We
Okay.
would like to expand the program so we can free up the roads even for people in Graysonville and Queenstown. That's another topic. But there is no way that this plane works if exit 37 is open because people know that gets you right there.
Right.
And that's the holy grail of everybody who's trying to bypass. When I first moved here in '88, that was only locals knew it, right? Because no one had navigation software. These were our side roads, but now everybody knows about the side roads. So you have to close that to
Okay,
reprogram people.
Right. So coming west on 50, how many more exits would you have to close to stop the Route 18 traffic?
you mean how many would we have to close to open up the Route 8 ramp?
Yeah.
It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Could you-
Again, all right, I'm not going to, because other people have comments, and what I'm saying is, how do you know you never tested it? And that's what I don't appreciate, is
We have somebody
came
from
up
State
with a
Highway
solution
Administration right
And you
here.
never tested it.
This is Will from the State Highway.
Right.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Will Pine, State Highway Administrator, and I think the data actually shows and addresses your concerns. So if you wouldn't mind, Commissioner Moran, go back to the slide that shows the volume or the direction arrow east. We'll start here. So this is the closure area that we're containing today. If you see the decrease in the delay times that we had previously, we have a 55% reduction with the closures in place. If you wouldn't mind, Commissioner, go to the purple.
What exits are you talking about?
So
Go back to the other one. What exits?
So this is with
Yeah.
Route 8 at the
Yeah.
closure that you would like us to open,
Where
and
the red-
also with Duke Street closed.
Where the red dots are.
Right, so this is the plan that we did last year.
Right.
And
the year
that,
before.
that
Right.
through that had a 55% reduction in delays on 18.
I'm not arguing that your
I
results
get
aren't as
that.
presented.
But-
What I'm suggesting is you could go further back on Route 50, close another exit, maybe two more.
If you could
and
bear with
leave
me a
those
second, I'll-
Kent Islanders alone.
So if you look east, along 18 east of Castleman Marina, you see that we only had an improvement of 20%. What does that mean? In traffic engineering terms, we talk about origin and destination. The majority of people traveling through here are originating east of, they're coming from the shore, right?
course,
They're
of
coming from the
course, yeah.
beach, back, traffic, and they're heading towards the Bay Bridge. The majority of the volume is not from 18, okay? So through this, we were only able to keep motorists off of 18 primarily in the area where we did the closures. East of that, folks were still getting off and then eventually getting back on 50. The commissioners did ask us to look at opportunities for closing the overpasses and also look at closing around the Kent Narrows Bridge. We had some concerns with some of the businesses in that area. There's a lot of businesses in the Kent Narrows waterfront area. There's the medical areas, the hospital, I don't know, is that ER room, excuse me, that's further east. All of those amenities make it extremely challenging to close any of the exits to the east of Castleman Marina. So we've tried to have a balanced program. We understand that, yes, we could close all of the exits all the way back to the Queenstown outlets. And we even looked at, today we have a closure right near the outlets along 50 that prevents people from entering onto Main Street from there. Again, that also has the negative consequence of folks that live on 18 back near the ER area would then have quite a long detour. If they came back from the beach, getting back to their home would be extremely challenging. So we've looked at who's impacted by the various closures, what business impacts there are, what community impacts, and the specific travel time benefits from the closures. This scenario is the optimal scenario in terms of reducing the impacts along 18. We understand that it is a balancing of the traffic, and so it has a consequence to 8, but it has overall reduced the delays as a whole through this corridor.
And I'll stop now because other people want to comment, but I will say, the people on Route 8 corridor were the only people in Queen Anne's County who lost their historical access to the bridge because of this. So,
No, you're actually, well, you're referring to the ramp. And again, you know, I think there'd be a lot of people that would take that 20-minute ride, and not to mention the amount of businesses that are on Castle Marina too. So it's, you know, we got to balance, just like Will said, we have to balance the needs of the businesses and the needs of all the citizens, not just those down Route 8. That's all I had that, you know, that signed up today. Would anybody else like to ask any questions? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Al Kreitzman. I live at 403 Cranny Creek Road, which is off of Route 8, about 4 miles south, opposite where the Elks is. And I'd like to echo the concerns of my fellow Route 8 resident. I believe that this, you know, this plan, as discussed, is basically transferring pain from those who elected to live and operate along Route 18 to those who chose to live along Route 8, similar to what this my resident friend said, because of the access ramp that is there. I do extensive traveling over the bridge twice a week, 3 times a week. I depend on that ramp. I use that ramp, and I can tell you that that detour is not 20 minutes most of the time when there's heavy traffic. If you look at this picture here, I can tell you that that 4-mile detour is more than 45 minutes when traffic is slow or jammed across the bridge. So I think there's a clear disproportionate harm that's being worked on the people who live north and south of Route 8 who depend upon that access. I think it is, you know, what's missing from this discussion is the significant efforts, if any, to mitigate the impact on Route 8 residents and businesses. You know, there needs to be, or there should be, some focus on what can be done as an alternative to this 4-mile detour, which again is more like 20 to 30, 45 minutes, not 7 minutes as the summary reported. In speaking with one commissioner earlier, you know, when we raised the idea of can there be a sticker, can there be a ramp, like a key fob or something that would allow Route 8 residents and businesses to pass, he indicated, well, there's some, and it may be a state mandated issue. There may be there's something that, you know, in law that right now may not allow some kind of mitigating effort that would allow Route 8 people to to use the ramp. And my answer to that is that everything can be addressed by legislation, and that if this is a need to look at some legislation that would permit local access to use the ramp through a key fob or through a sticker or through something else, then go to the legislature, go to the Department of Transportation and ask for that authority. You know, nothing is written in stone, especially under today's world, where seemingly almost anything goes. So I would like to understand, and I'd like to ask, what mitigating efforts have been made and will be made to reduce the adverse impacts for people who live on Route 8, because this loop is not something that just can be dismissed. It's a significant burden. It's something that wasn't anticipated. It didn't exist at the time we chose to reside or have a business along Route 8, and now it is depriving us of a significant benefit. So what I'm asking is, can you or will you undertake some significant effort to seek mitigation for people along Route 8, which may include, legislative changes, if there's needs to be legislative changes, or some federal exemption that would allow Route 8 to be residents to basically be put back where they were before this restriction was imposed.
Hey, Jim, if I can, since Route 8 Commissioner. I live down Route 8, so I have to I've had to go and do the turnaround. Most days if there's no traffic, the 7-minute number is right. If there is bad traffic, you're right, it's longer. And if there's bad traffic and the exit is open, it's still longer. We have this misconception in our head that before ramp management, we would just dawdle on up Route 18 and take a left and zoom, we're on the bridge in a second. That is absolutely not true on bad traffic days, because we would have traffic backing up from McDonald's all the way down Route 18, all the way to the ramp, and traffic all the way down the ramp into 18. So it wasn't, as we have to be realistic about, when there's really bad traffic, it's not a quick exit. It was longer than 2. This is no doubt a bigger burden on those of us who live down Route 8, including myself. What I have heard from most of the people who live down Route 8 since we have done this is that most of them live and reside and spend their time in Queen Anne's County, and so getting to Safeway or Food Lion or to visit family members on the island is a higher priority to them than going across the bridge. That is obviously not everybody, and there are some people who do want to go across the bridge. That's a disproportionate amount to the ones who want to be able to get around Kent Island and be freed from the burden. So there's no doubt that there's a burden for people, and we understand that. There is, I think I said at the meeting last time, there is no perfect solution, and it's messy. This is one of the best options that we have come through a lot. We did go to the General Assembly. We testified before them, I guess it was 5 years ago that we were out there. Myself, Jim, Scott Haas was there, I think Todd Mond, Dr. Ciatolo. We talked about the impact of emergency services, the impact of the citizens. We tried to get some legislation to change the way the roads would allow the locals to go. No luck there. We reached out to former Secretary of Transportation, Jim Ports, when he was Secretary of Transportation for the state of Maryland, about could we do a locals only, and they wrote to the feds, and the Federal Highway said, you can do that, but there will be $0 federal dollars that come to Maryland for any roads projects anywhere in the state of Maryland, which, so Key Bridge, would have been no money to build a new Key Bridge or any of that kind of stuff. So we can't do that. Otherwise, the feds will cut off, because they say that there has to be, under the Constitution, equal opportunity for everybody to use. So that's why it's closed to one, closed to all. If somebody could get the current administration to reverse that, I'm sure MDOT would relook at that. I don't think it's going to happen, because it's a constitutional issue that they were interpreting. There's no way for us to short circuit that. So we did try to reach out to the feds. We did try to change legislation. We are trying to tweak when the hours are. Like we said last year, we moved it from 11 to 12 when we could do that. But unfortunately, there is no perfect solution that doesn't impact somebody. And until there is a new crossing that's built and they reconfigure the way the side roads are entirely so that locals can get around and that nobody can get off and use the side roads, as we've seen with other infrastructure projects, that would come at that point in time. That's a long way off, unfortunately. So we have had many engineers, traffic engineers at the county level, at the state level, consultants look at this. And we think this is, as messy as it is, one of the best availables. If there are other opportunities and other options, we would consider them. But unfortunately, we don't have any at our disposal. So there was a lot of thought, as Jim pointed out in the timeline, how many years back this has gone, a lot of thought that went into it. And I feel for you entirely, and I know how bad it is, because every time my wife has to go and there's traffic, I get a call when she's sitting in that extra traffic, and she's not happy with me. I give her Jim's number, and he calls her up instead, and then I'm out of the doghouse on that. But there is, unfortunately, it sucks. We will all admit it. It sucks for the people who've done Route 8. We get it. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer, but we have done a lot.
Sure. Just one last, question or issue in looking at the map. Why not build a dedicated small on-ramp along the preserve, paralleling where the ramp is, that could just be accessed by the locals? Like just have a side road with a gate. You wouldn't be the ramp would still be closed. It would all be on county property, and you could have a dedicated access for just accessible to those who live there.
So something like that is what we would hope to be able to get out of the negotiations when they're doing a new crossing. Something that would mitigate, maybe not necessarily that thing, but those types of changes to the way the infrastructure is are things that we're hoping to get out of a new crossing and negotiation. But unfortunately, Queen Anne's County is a little county, and our budget is not big enough to be building those kinds of roads. We don't have those kinds of resources, so it would take money from the state and the feds to do something like that, and until there is a huge infrastructure project in place, when you're talking about a multi-billion-dollar project, throwing another 10 or 20 million in for some other roads, that's like becomes small money on its own. It's not something we're going to do. And the state, on their own, I think we will tell you, state highway doesn't have a lot of money right now compared to what they used to. The state of Maryland has very tight budget problems. So unfortunately, some of those things are going to have to wait until a new crossing. What may be possible, and Jim maybe wants to speak to this, is that if we do get closer to the point of a revamped crossing, that maybe some of those side road improvements can come before an actual new bridge comes, and we'll get some relief that way. But the traffic is going to keep coming from the beach. The houses are still being built in Rehoboth and Ocean City. There are more and more cars coming down through the Delaware bypass. Our traffic is going to get worse and worse. And so this is how we're hoping to mitigate the burden on all citizens.
The beach traffic's going to get worse and worse.
The beach traffic.
Not
yeah.
our traffic.
Yeah,
Not-
the beach
not our
traffic, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
so, I sit on the the Bay Bridge Reconstruction Advisory Group, and ever since I've been on it, Governor Hogan, when he first came into office, started the NEPA for a new crossing. And we've gone through phase one. The new bridge is going to be where the old bridges are. And I think the selection that's being kicked around right now is 2 separate new bridges, which is good. To build one super bridge, a lot of money, a lot of time. Let's build just that one bridge, get us the 4 or 5 lanes we need, and this conversation goes away. And I'm just going to comment to your building a road with our county money, only county employees can get on it. You still have to get onto state highways property, MTA's property, and have access. And you're doing what we're trying to defeat is that bottleneck and slowing that traffic down. So I do feel for you, and we understand that it is a burden on the Route 8, but imagine all the rest of the county that had the 1-hour trips. At least now they're saving 10, 15 minutes, and we're hoping that this will result in more accurate or more, our emergency services and our sheriff's department be able to move around, our volunteers, people will be able to go to the grocery store. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen the further east you get from this traffic. And it's not your traffic, it's not our traffic, it's the beach traffic. So the more that we can condition them to run at certain times, and why so many of them leave at the same time, it must be because of checkout. But that's the problem that we face. We have to get to a point where, again, I go back to the contraflow. Right now, it changes with the traffic. I'm for changing at a specific time, saying at 1 o'clock I'm going to have 3 lanes moving westbound, and then that push that comes from the bridge doesn't have to slow down, because most of those people leave at 10 o'clock in the morning. They're here by 12. By 12, we see that the growth in some of these backups. So if we can condition them to say, look, you're not going to get that 3rd lane till this time. Maybe we put some messaging out, just like you see it now when you're coming on Route 50. Bay Bridge, 5 miles, 6 minutes. Maybe coming from Ocean City, 2 lanes only westbound. So people will know that, ooh, let's wait a little bit, and then that would ease a lot of pain. But we are trying. Again, in 2018 we had a sticker. It's going to go on a car. our deputies were going to man each ramp, and we were going to let anybody on it. But Attorney General said that's illegal, and, you know, we're not going to stand for that. So we have tried a lot of things. And, you know, and again, I think that where we sit right now, I think this year's numbers are going to be better. I think that people have gone through it last year, understand. People down Route 8, a lot of them realize now, look at, you know, my son's got a game at 2, but I guess I'm not going to wait till 1 o'clock to leave. I'm going to leave at 11 to get across the bridge if I don't want to sit in 20 minutes of traffic. I mean, my best friend, because I commute every day, my best friend is the baseman. I call it religiously to find out what's going on. The minute they say a backup's starting, I'm jumping in my car and I'm heading for the bridge because I want to get over it. But I don't have the perfect answer for you. All I would say is the sooner we start the design work on a new bridge, the better we're going to feel because we'll have light at the end of that tunnel.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mark Armstrong, and I live just a little down Route 8. Just a quick question. Who owns the property that Route 8 ramp is on?
State highway, state highway.
The state owns it. How far out from Route 50 do they own?
Well, they own all of that because Route 8 is a state road, Route 18 is a state road. So 50, 8, 18, that's all the state. The overpass, that's all the state's property.
So we have no, as a county, we have no control over any of that?
No, not unless they want to deed it to us, and then we're responsible for the maintenance upkeep of it. We don't want to be taking care of bridges.
Well, it wouldn't be the bridge, it'd just be the one piece of access road.
You
Just
know,
the ramp.
they would,
Did we ask?
that's a question for him, but I got to imagine it would be a no.
I got to
But I
imagine it
understand
too,
what you're saying,
but it might
yeah.
be an interesting thought
Yeah.
to reclaim our property back.
Right. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Dory Passon. I'm with Chesapeake Manor Vineyard. We're one of the businesses that are affected on Route 8. Sorry. Chesapeake Manor Vineyard, I'm one of the businesses affected on Route 8. Could you clarify one of the remarks you made when speaking with this lady about the cause and effect of closing that Route 8 exit and the impact on the software that routes people? Because it seemed to me to be a really important point as to what's driving people to take that special access route.
Right, so most people have Google Maps or
Apple, Waze.
Waze, something like that, open when they're driving, right? And when you hit traffic, it'll say, do you want a shorter route? Save
Right.
5 minutes.
Sure.
Take it right here. So what it does now is, when it knows that that Route 8 exit is open, it tells them, hey, there's a faster way than Route 50. Get off onto the side road. And it's probably is faster for the first few cars that get out before that backup starts. But everybody starts going on that backup. We can't tell the software company that exit's closed if it's not. The state of Maryland can't. But if they're going to have a planned closure, then they can. And so now the software knows it's closed, right? And so now it's not going to route them to that way. So that keeps them from going off onto the side road.
And it shows that Duke Street also is closed.
Right.
So what that does is it computes out, they're coming over the Kent Narrows, and the computer says, well, we know there's a backup, but we know those 2 exits are closed, and it computes out that it's going to be faster to stay on 50.
So why does a private software company have the say that we have to kowtow to them to physically close an exit and not ask them just during a certain period of time, not route people through that area?
Yep,
And
we've
what
done this,
mechanisms
yes.
do we have to
The
fight
sheriff's
this?
done it,
Yeah.
everybody's done it. Yep.
So again, so we're considered a member of Waze Connected Community, where we do exchange data with them, and you would think that may give us some privilege to be able to have them show data in the way that we would want it presented. This type of issue happens statewide. We get many residential streets in metropolitan areas where in the Capital Beltway, when it gets congested, we'll see people get off and navigate through many back roads. It's a common request for the state to try to curb those types of diversions through communities. Waze and Google, Google owns Waze. Their philosophy is that the motorist using their product is their customer. The communities that are impacted by the motorists are not. And so you're not sitting in your house using Waze, right? You're using it when you're in your car, and you want the advantage of the travel time. That's why they offer that in the first place. And so they are going to present accurate information about the travel times at the moment when it's shown. We've asked repeatedly to do other things. The other thing that we've done as a state, because we know that we're not getting over that hurdle with them, it's a business decision, they're a private company, we cannot force them to do something different in the presentation of the data. We have fact-checked their data. We've actually staged multiple vehicles during multiple congestion periods and driven the routes, monitored the timeline to validate, is this software presenting realistic and accurate information? The only thing I can say is they are dead on. Like, they're using Bluetooth technology for the phones in the cars to monitor the travel times of vehicles. It's as accurate as you're going to get. So we can't criticize the presentation of the information they provided, and we don't have control over a private company's ability to show accurate, publicly available information.
Which means that we can't tell them, please show Route 8 closed, the ramp closed, but even though we're going to have it open. It doesn't work.
Okay, I mean, I guess as a citizen, I would question whether that's something that our state, you know, could possibly look into as something legislative. I don't understand how these private companies can hold us hostage like this and cause us to have to.
Well, they're not holding us hostage. They're just.
Well, they are if we're closing an exit in order to convince them to show something in the way we want them to show it, right?
Well, then you're asking them to lie. You know, I don't think that works either.
I guess so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It'll be quick. So I just sort of want to add a little to this discussion. A lot of people who go to the beach are sort of local to the Baltimore, Washington area. So it doesn't matter if they have Waze or another map. They know these back roads, like, because they're local, but they're just not local to here. Just like those of us who lived elsewhere in Northern Virginia or around Baltimore, we sort of know the back roads to places. So if traffic gets backed up, you don't necessarily need the maps. And so, you know, I think it's not necessarily people from Pennsylvania are going for the first time. I mean, we all do that.
Yeah, you're right. That's one component. And then there's the others who do know the side roads. But what we do to address those who aren't using software is the state works with the county to put up signs that say, exit closed. And the state can't tell somebody from Montgomery County that exit's closed if it's not closed.
No, I'm not saying that. I firmly believe that everyone should have the same opportunity to do everything. We all pay taxes, presumably, for the roads, and so, you know, everyone should suffer the same thing. I think another point that maybe you need to emphasize more, really, that maybe some people weren't getting, is really the Route 8. You're eliminating the merge, and that is an essential part. You're eliminating the merge there of getting on at Route 8, and that's an essential part of the plan and the thing. So I think that was maybe a little bit understated, that basically you have like almost 2 miles where there's no other traffic merging in. So
That's correct.
I'm a Route 8er, so I'm not in favor of this at all.
Yeah.
Only because of what the other people have said before, is that
Yeah.
you know, 22 years ago, we bought our house specifically because we didn't want to go east and get involved in the traffic. And so now, you know, the selling point of Route 8 properties is basically gone until you get a new bridge where you have enough lanes.
And that is something that people who live on Kent Island have been going through for a long time. When I moved here in 1988, we lived in Cox Neck Road, and you could make a left on Cox Neck Road on a Route 50 because there was a light there, and you could go to McDonald's. And then they closed it, they took out the light, and so we had to go east to go west.
Right.
And we had to go up, and we had to go around the overpass, and it changed everything. Yeah, all right, this has happened, I mean, as all the lights go and the bridges and everything changes.
Right.
That's unfortunately sort of like Kent Island is a beautiful place to live. I think we all agree with that. And There's some burden associated with living here. It sucks. I get it. I don't disagree with you,
Anyway.
but that's part of
So-
where we are.
Right, all the more reason that you need a bridge with the
Capacity.
number of lanes that
Right.
you have on the roads,
Right.
right? That was probably an initial factor that caused these problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't have 6 lanes of highway and 5 lanes of bridge.
That's exactly correct. Would anybody else like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name's Caroline Rowe. I live at Bay Bridge Cove on Route 8, which is a little bit south of 835A there. So a lot of the focus here is on westbound traffic. I want to raise an issue about eastbound traffic. We are concerned, residents along Route 8, of a business enterprise that we think will entice customers or vehiclists off of Route 50, beach traffic in particular. Off Route 50, come down south, have a high volume of traffic. It's a gas station, a convenience store, and would have to cross back over Route 8 at a very critical juncture at what we consider a dangerous section of Route 8, have to cross over to head northbound again, and then possibly create a bottleneck on the Route 50 entrance or 835. Just wondering what your thoughts might be, are there concerns with that?
Right, at this present time, there are no concerns because there's nothing there. You know what I mean? You're asking for hypothetical answers or
I am.
hypothetical questions without data, and I don't think that would be even in our
Well, that's
purview.
part of our problem as a community, is that the convenience store, gas station has done their traffic impact study, but has excluded that data about summer vehicle traffic. So we don't have the data. They don't have the data. I don't know who, and so these decisions are being made in the absence of data.
Well, right now, no decisions are being made. You're referring to Royal Farms.
Yes, I am.
And I think, were you at the STAC meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was at the STAC meeting also, and that's just one, and they probably got 2 or 3 more they're going to have to go through before any decision's made. And the only decision to be made is it ready to go to the Planning Commission? The Planning Commission is where the decision will be made. It has nothing to do with the commissioners. It's no different than any
I
other.
guess we just like to see that data would be incorporated
It should be.
in the
It should be.
decision.
So I will say that much. It should be. You should have access to that data.
To
Yes.
summer vehicle
Yes.
data.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
when there's a hearing scheduled for the planning commission, all the data will be, you'll have it available well in advance of the meeting. I encourage you to go to the planning commission and express those concerns. I live down Route 8, I don't like ROFO either, but it doesn't come to me for a vote. But the planning commission does want to hear your concerns. So go
Absolutely.
there and
Yep.
and go before them. Not scheduled yet, I don't know when it's going to be. It could be, they had a lot of notes that they got at the STAC meeting, so it could be a while before it gets to them. But if you're new and you have not yet signed up for the Queen Anne's County email blasts and you're not on social media,
I'm on
we
it.
have email list, you can sign up, you'll get notifications for when all the different meetings are and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff going on in the county, so you'll be informed of when the meetings are coming up.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Jim. My name is Maggie J., and I live on Cox Neck Road. And there seems to be an inordinate amount of attention paid to Route 8 residents. Off of Cox Neck, last weekend, it took me 30 minutes just to go across to Bayside, the community of Bayside. Out on Route 50, up over the overpass, 30 minutes over the overpass to get down to the Castle Marina Circle just to go to the community of Bayside. So, sorry?
Saturday?
Yes.
We saw that traffic too.
Yes. And so many of the people, and it was a holiday weekend, understood, and the ramps were not closed, but so many of the folks, as soon as they know that there's a backup off on Route 8, and they go over by Gibson's Grant, and it was just jam-packed from I think it's called South Piney Road or something over
yes.
there, trying to get to the circle. Now, whether they were continuing on Route 18, who knows, but or maybe just trying to get on Route 50, but the ramps were not closed, and it was still a backup.
Yeah.
So it's affecting everyone, not just
Absolutely.
Route 8.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Stayed
that's
on
a-
50 that day and it worked.
Yeah.
I got home quicker than him. He went the Main Street way.
So, I mean, all I would say is stay engaged, especially when it comes talk about a new bridge, and when, sooner rather than later. And we constantly are pushing that. You know, let's get to the engineering, let's get to the design work, let's have some hope here, because as Commissioner Corcorino said, there's so much construction going on at the beaches, and especially in Delaware, that it's overwhelming. And those who travel up down 301 at the split, where there used to be minimal traffic, it's full-blown now. So, you know, we recognize it. We recognize it's not our traffic, it's through traffic, and we just hope that someday we can get some relief of this. Because, you know, somebody made the comment that they bought their house down Route 8 because of the traffic. Well, we didn't start having traffic problems till 10 years ago. We were monitoring. We'd have them on Labor Day and July 4th, Memorial Day, but not the ones in between unless there was an accident. Now it's an every weekend occurrence, and it's going to continue to grow. As you see, it grew by almost 1,000 vehicles in 1 year, and if the gas prices go down, beach travel goes up. So, just, you know, again, I thank everybody for coming out. Is anybody else one last time? Well, thank you very much. We're gonna close this for tonight, and appreciate your candor and honesty.